Welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. This is going to be a super short episode because I really don't have much to talk about. Let's see if I can keep it under 30 minutes after having said that. I only have a couple of movies. This week I spent a lot of time reading, and I was trying to finish this book, and I'm trying to get back on a reading schedule. It's actually really difficult. Like, this is a small book, but I've just gotten out of the habit of reading, except for comic books, even those, right? And I don't know. I used to read a couple of these a week, and if not like a longer book when I was young, but man, I've lost that. So I'm getting back into this. I'm going to talk about this at the end of my video because I want to talk about a little bit, and then I'm going to do spoilers. So if anybody wants to stop there, they can. So earlier in the week, I talked about how I was disappointed that my turntable wasn't making sound, and I don't know what happened, but my husband was sad for me. He's like, he took we have 4 turntables, right? One out in the garage. He's got one in his upstairs room. We have one in our bedroom, and then we have one in the living room. So he unplugged from his room upstairs. That's like where he has all of this stuff. Like, we each have one of these little rooms. And he brought it out to me in the garage, and he's like, well, you need this for, your YouTube channel to go over albums and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet of you. Thank you. But I said, hey, just let me try it one more time before we did that. And so I put the needle on the record, and I started playing it. And he was like, is it supposed to sound like that? And I started laughing because the sound was good. I don't know why it hadn't played before. But the album that was on the turntable was this Rotborn. And of course, it's like really heavy. Like, I thought that was funny because he thought there was something wrong with the sound. Anyways, sorry, heavy metalers. You always get abused, right? My husband thinks that's music to get rid of the raccoons. He thinks there's something wrong with my stereo when I'm playing it. So I had to take it off and put on a normal sounding album. And then, yeah, it sounded fine. So I don't know what happened that I didn't hear the sound that one day, and it kind of just freaked me out. But all's well that ends well. I'm able to listen to albums now, and I've been listening to some of the newer albums. Not newer, but I mean, they're new for me because I bought them used, but they're new albums for me. So I've been listening to some of those. I've also been doing some shorts. Now I'm trying to dip my toes back into this YouTube shorts, and I'm also posting them on TikTok. Because I got a double whammy in one day. Okay, so Propfe made a video about, doing shorts, and he was doing the question. I've always had that. I have that same question. I've done shorts before, but they're never really exactly what I want from YouTube. I like talking like this. I like talking about the things that I have and why I like them, and then, going through the comments. But shorts to me just seem too random, and I enjoy watching the shorts here and there. So I'm trying to do shorts in a way that are still the kind that I like, sharing things that I've been interested in and informative. But the second thing that happened that day, the same day that Propfe made his video, then my husband was like, you should be making shorts. Your YouTube channel isn't getting blah, 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 blah. So he was like YouTube shaming me because, when I first started YouTube, I had, this grand idea. Oh, within 1 year, I'm going to have 1,000 subs, and I'm going to, make monetization. That never happened. So I had to drastically change what I was doing on YouTube and why, and I'm totally fine with it. I love the group of people that I'm interacting with. I love sharing the things that I have. But having said that, this week, or was it last week, I hit 485. And to me, that was like such a good number because I'm getting so close to 500, right? Which was my original goal. And I'm just over a year right now. A little bit less than a month over a year. and I was intending to get to 1,000, but at least I want to get to 500. I was at 485, and then I went up to 486, and I was so happy. And then I started losing people again. I went down to 483, and I'm just like, and you know, those subs really don't matter in one sense, because I know 480 people aren't watching my videos. I usually get 50 people watching. If I'm lucky, I get 100. So 485 are subscribed, and so then it went down. It's like, you know, what are you going to do? But it was just that mental 485, that number, and I'm like, oh, I'm just so close to 500. And then it went up, and then it just went down again. It's just like, So sometimes YouTube can, you know, wrap its little tendrils, you know, around your brain. So, but I have, you know, you have to have for me, I need a more healthy outlook for YouTube, and I found that. Well, my husband was like, yeah, you need to do YouTube shorts, and I was like, well, maybe that's a sign, because Chris Propfe made a video about it, and I always liked doing shorts. But here's the thing with shorts. For me, it's a big time investment. The reason I kind of moved into this form of video is because I edit my videos so much, and for every video that I put onto YouTube, I at least spend an hour editing and adding things and cutting. I like to cut out all the pauses. Every time I say and ah, I cut that because I don't want my viewers to have to suffer through that. I mean, when you're watching YouTube videos, the shorter they are, the better. And I figure if I cut all those pauses out, all that hemming and hawing, then that's just going to make a better viewing experience for my viewership. Although Guz69 told me that, you know, having too many jump cuts is a bad thing. But I decided to err on the caution of time, like getting rid of all those pauses, even if I'm going like this in my video. I think it's just better for the viewer. I mean, that's how I see it. So, again, making shorts, for me, a 50-second short takes almost as much time to do a full-length video. Like, this week, or since I saw Chris Propfe's video and talked to my husband, which is just like 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, I made 3 shorts. And each one of those shorts took me a while to make, right? So much editing. And the first one I did as a thank you to Aaron Mutha Alamer, because he took so much time to do his rat countdown. No, not countdown. What do you call that? Ranking. He did a ranking of the first 3 rat albums. And, you know, that was in part because of a challenge that I gave him. So it was really nice to see that video. And so I made a short, you know, based on that video. And I tried to do his video justice in you know, in a 50-second segment. And his video is 45 minutes or maybe 50 minutes. So I had to cut out so much, obviously. And then I added some things to it. So doing shorts for me takes up a lot of time. And the reason I stopped initially is because I didn't think the time investment was equal to what I was getting out of it, because I wasn't getting a lot of viewership. So I'm going to continue to do shorts like the one I made. I read this book. I researched it. I put together a short based on this book, and then I put it out there. And also I did my decades, and I focused on music from the 1900s to the 1950s. And as I was researching that, I found so many cool facts about older music that I didn't know. And so I researched one, and I put that up there. I enjoy doing that kind of thing. And the thing about the shorts is you can have extended clips of songs and not get copyright. Whereas in our YouTube videos, you can't do that. So I can't talk about the jazz song that I included in that video and then have an extended piece where I talk about the music and show parts, because I'm limited to like under 7 seconds or you get copyright. And so I think like the shorts have a real advantage, and I don't understand how they let the copyright of a song. You can play a song for up to a minute, but in our YouTube videos, you got to do it under 7 seconds before you get copyright. And some groups, even if it's that short, you're going to get copyrighted. So I don't understand why that is the way it is. Okay, I'm moving on. So I'm starting up doing my shorts. If you're interested, please go see my shorts. And Chris Propfe, I put the challenge out there for you. I want to see your shorts. I want to see. Sorry, Chris, that came out really weird. I want to see your shorts. Okay, so what movies did I see this week? When my husband and I were out on the town, we saw the marquee for the new Mission Impossible movie, and he was like, hey, you know what? I'd like to see the old Mission Impossible movies. I'm like, okay. I'd love to see those because from what I remember, every Mission Impossible movie gets better. Each one gets better than the one before. And I just jumped ahead because that was like the fourth movie we saw. So this week, we only got to the first one, Mission Impossible 1. And it's got that iconic scene, right? Even my husband was like, oh, is this the scene where he does that? Like when they have to go into the vault. I'm going to say that this is a great movie, right? But there are some of the acting is cringy compared to what we're used to now. There's one character in this movie that would give William Shatner a run for his money. The acting is like over the top. It's just like every word is over enunciated. But having said that, it's a great movie. It's a fun thrill ride. There's a couple of twists, which I knew them all because I've seen this movie a couple of times. And it was interesting to see, a lot of the actors. This was, I think, from 1996. I mean, you got Jon Voight in there, and Vanessa Redgrave, Ving Rhames. Like you see a whole bunch of these people, from this time, and many of them are in other movies. Like Ving Rhames is in I think all of the movies. And I actually think he died, right? So I don't think he's in the most recent movie. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So we only saw Mission Impossible 1. I'm looking forward to watching Mission Impossible 2 because I don't think I've seen that since it was in the theater. And I just remember, the big focus was on Tom Cruise's hair. I think that's the one that was directed by John Woo. But I could be wrong. But I know I've seen the later ones multiple times. It's just I haven't seen that second one in a long time. Okay, so this is why I got confused. So initially, I wanted to see Top Gun Maverick because it's on the 10, the Academy Award nominees. I still haven't finished them all, even though we know who won. But so it was on the list, and I wanted to see it. So we went ahead and watched the first Top Gun. And I'm going to say, like, this movie is not very good. Like, I don't know why so many people, like, praise this. I know it's an 80s film, and it's got that iconic 80s soundtrack. But it's just kind of silly. I don't know. Everybody loves this movie. I'm probably going to get flack for that. It's just a silly action movie. And as an action movie, it's not even that great. So I don't know. I would say a 3 out of 5. If I had to give it a rating. But it was good to watch this because it refreshed my memory, because I don't think I've seen it since it came out initially, right? I don't even know to be honest, I don't even know if I actually saw it. That might have been my first time to see it, because I was in the Navy when this came out, and I wasn't interested in seeing military-based movies because I was like stuck in it. So I never watched this movie. Oh wait, this one came out in, I can't remember when it came out. So something like that. But then I watched this, the follow-up, Top Gun Maverick, and I actually really enjoyed this movie. I don't believe that it should have been Best Picture of the Year material at all. it is very exciting. Like the flying sequences are amazing. They're stunning. So they really upped the game from this. Like that though, you if you haven't seen this movie, just for the special effects, the flying, everything is gorgeous. It's actually a pretty gripping story in a melodramatic way for the first half, but then it gets to be, and when you have to wrap it up and everything, it gets to be like, well, okay, we need to get to the ending. I would say that this one would be a 3.5 or 4 out of 5 if I had to. It's definitely better than the first one, and not just because of the special effects. Like, the story is actually better. Now, the one thing that it is missing is it's missing Kelly McGillis, and instead we have Jennifer Connelly. Now, Jennifer Connelly is a great actress, but it's just a little bit jarring, right? Since it's a sequel, and she was the love interest in the first movie. It's just weird that they changed the love interest, but what can you do? Okay, the last movie that I'm going to talk about is... Oh, where's my... Sorry, I want to sip of coffee. The last movie we're going to talk about is the most interesting one. Sorry, my mouth was getting a little dry. And that is the movie Bliss. So this is an Amazon-only movie, and I was interested in this because of the sci-fi elements. And that's Salma Hayek, whose name I couldn't remember a couple weeks ago when I was reviewing the Black Mirror episode. But anyways, Salma Hayek and Owen Wilson. Now, when you see this, you see it's cut. And this is... Like, I thought this was a sci-fi movie. And I don't want to spoil it. I don't know. I kind of have to, because this is not really a sci-fi movie. Although on the surface, it looks like a sci-fi movie, and it has sci-fi elements. And I was really into this story, because for like the first half, you're not sure what's real and what's not real. Although I quickly figured out the movie, I still wasn't exactly sure if my interpretation of the movie was correct. And I was along for the ride. I enjoyed this. I'm going to say that this movie is not going to be for everybody. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I don't think I would recommend it. This was a kind of movie, that just had me kind of thinking and guessing and looking at something that... this word gets thrown around a lot, and looking at it and seeing it from a new perspective. I'm not going to tell you what this movie is about in the end, because that would be a spoiler. I just think it is an interesting movie, and I would recommend it if you don't mind, if a movie doesn't really have a big payoff. It builds up something, and the payoff isn't all there. But the acting is very good. Oh, and the locations was filmed near my house. You're all going to be like, ew, Garage Geek, where do you live? My husband and I was like, oh my God, that's over there. Oh my God, that's over there. Now, it's not quite near my house. It's like 2 or 3 stations, like on the metro away. But we drive past this all the time, and so it was really great to see all that in the movie where it was filmed. So there you go, Bliss. That's an Amazon movie. All right, those are the movies that I saw. Let me go ahead and put my iPad down. Okay. Ugh. I have been reading this Black Science Compendium, and I am right about halfway through it now. So I was on a web, what do you call it? Live web? I'm so old. What do you call those? A web stream? Live stream? A live stream? It was Larry's Library's daughter and her husband. I think the husband's name is Reed, and then her name is Omnicat, or the Comic Slayer, I think. Okay, my dog's gonna... Hi, Angel. Okay, go ahead and lay down. The Omni Cat or the Comic Slayer. I think she has 2 channels, and she and her husband were reviewing indie comics. So that's this is sticking out. That's normally what they read. Her husband actually is an illustrator, and yeah, my dog wants me to pet him. They read a lot of independent comics, and also Sleepy Reader 666, he reads a lot of independent comics too. So that is something that I just dip my toes in once in a while. And so I love watching their channels because I find out so much about an area or a branch of comics that I don't really get into. And I love when they post their best of the years, because that gives me some kind of guidance in, an area that I don't know too much about. Long story, that was a long preamble. So in the chat, they were asking what we're reading, and I wrote, I'm reading Black Science Compendium, and I just thought it was iffy, like, okay. And someone else immediately like, oh, Black Science, amazing. And then someone else comes on, oh, you're going to absolutely love it. And I was like, oops, because I'd already said it was iffy. And I think last time I said that it was iffy as well on here. Now, this comic, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's bad at all. The art is starting to grow on me. The art for me, is kind of jarring. I'm starting to get into it. What I do love in this art are the double page or full page spreads. Like, they're gorgeous. I even said that last week, right? Here's an example. The story to me still needs to click. It's still lost in space. Basically, like, you've got the saboteurs along with a family, and they're jumping from dimension to dimension. In this part of the book, I'm about halfway. It's starting to get into the father's mental state, and like the Hulk did all of this. So, it's not bad at all, but I'm not raving like so many people say, oh my gosh, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. I'm just liking it. I'm hoping that, like one of the commenters said, like by the end, you're going to be enthralled. I'm hoping. Like, I'm halfway, and I'm hoping that next week I can come on here and say, wow, this is a stunning piece of literature that you need to read. It was worth, blah, blah, blah. I hope. And besides music, which I'm not going to get into, I do have a couple videos coming up where I'm going to talk about recommendations that people have made. But I'm going to end this video talking about this book, The Kraken Wakes. And this is by John Wyndham, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Now, if you've seen my short, you know that some of the critics bashed this book. And I watched a YouTuber who didn't enjoy reading this. And so I'm going to tell you what he said, and it made a lot of sense. So this book is basically in 3 parts. I'm not going to do spoilers yet. I'm going to tell you where the spoilers are coming, okay? Because I want to end talking about this book. So this is written in 1953, I believe. But it stands up today because of one element. There's so much that is relatable to what happened during the COVID pandemic in this book. And I'm going to talk about that during the spoilers section. All right, but there are 3 parts to this book. And you go through each section, and even though it's all related, something totally different is happening. I will go through that as well. Why do people not like this? They say it's too slow, and that it focuses on the wrong things. Again, for spoilers, I'm not gonna give it away. I agree and I disagree with that. Okay, so I'm gonna go into spoilers now. I thoroughly recommend this book. I loved it, and I already have another book by him ready to go. And I bought 4 of his books because I loved these covers. I'm gonna buy the rest. I'm gonna read them all. The next one I'm going to read is Stowaway to Mars. I'm going to start that. So I'm on a John Wyndham kick. I loved this book. Okay, so if you don't want to hear spoilers for this book, then please go ahead and shut this off. I will see you next week. Okay, thank you for the support. All right, let's go on. So this book is about a married couple, and they are reporters, and they are, to me, it's like around the 1920s or 1930s when people got around by ship. Okay, and so they're on. They probably say the date in here, but anyways, it's older like that. And so they're going around. They're actually on a ship when they see like a big meteor come and crash, and it starts happening a lot. And all of these reports keep coming in. Now these two are reporters, and they start reporting, right? So they're actually writers for newspapers. They wire their stories in, but it starts happening over and over again, and people don't know what to make of it. All these like meteors crashing to Earth. There's all these theories, this speculation, but pretty soon ships start disappearing. They start being like vibrated and broken apart and sinking, and it's happening in the like the areas of the ocean that have the deepest trenches. So people are starting to put two and two together and saying, hey, this is probably some kind of life form came from outer space, and they are they're attacking us. But one of the criticisms of this book is, one, it never shows the aliens. And that's true, they never do. It's very much like War of the Worlds. And that was a second criticism, that this is War of the Worlds, but not done as well. Okay, I disagree with that. I was gripped pretty much from the beginning to the end of this book. There was a little slump in the middle, toward the end of the second part. But the third part drew me right back in again. So I didn't mind that they don't show the aliens. I think that was something really interesting. So the aliens are in the bottom of the ocean. They're very different life form from us, and supposedly they want the Earth, and they want us off, or they in part 2 they gather humans. We don't know what for, because we never find out, and they're in a part of the Earth that we can't get to, and they're attacking us from there. So ships start going down, and it becomes a worldwide almost panic. They have to shut down all shipping lanes, so this drastically affects the world economy, right? So imagine, like, if you can't sail anywhere and you can't distribute goods from one part of the world to the other, prices start going up, and it's very well done the way that he describes this. Okay, that goes on for a while. Part 2, the aliens start attacking coastal cities and even islands. They start very small. And this is one of the strengths of this book. The way they describe it, they're basically they call them sea tanks. They're basically these kind of like globular things come rolling up onto the land, and they have some kind of intelligence. They seek out where humans live, and they send out these things that erupt from the main body, and it shoots these like strings, and the strings have some intelligence. They latch onto humans, and then they pull them, and it doesn't matter where they're from. And this is where this book got pretty horrible, because, for example, it would pull people out of like second story buildings, and it didn't matter. They would fall. Like, one guy broke his neck and it was still dragging him along. Other people are like screaming and crying. It's like, and they would merge, and they would get put into these giant balls, and they would all just come together, and it would start rolling, and there would be hands and feet sticking out of it. And that whole description was horrific. And that was one of the strengths of this book, because it was this unseen enemy They don't know what they're doing with these people. We never find out what they're doing with the people, why they're taking people. If they're, they just want to like experiment on them, find out, is it like information reconnaissance? You never find out. And then the third part of the book is like the humans start responding to them and bombing them, and normally nothing worked except for extreme things like dynamite or putting something under their path. The humans start getting smart and they're able to ward them off, so the aliens take a different tact. Part 3, they start heating up the polar ice caps, and so the water level rises. And so the last part of the book is this, this global crisis where the water's rising, and it gets very Walking Dead, right? People start defending what they have. They won't let refugees in. They start killing. It's like every man or woman for himself or his family. It becomes really crazy. Oh, and another thing that I forgot to mention is this book examines how governments can be ineffectual. Like the governments try to appease the people and do things to make them happy, but are really ineffectual, right? Just to appease the mass. And they don't do much to stop the aliens, but the governments just try to keep like I said, their populations appeased. The governments of the world can't come together, and they're constantly bickering with each other. That was one huge criticism that the YouTuber I watched he had, because this was talking a lot about how the Russians couldn't get along, and it was very Cold War, and so that seemed very dated. To me, it didn't seem too dated because I could understand countries reacting that way. So the third part of the book is just surviving, and it starts off with the main couple in a boat, and they're going place to place, and they spend a night in a house where it's all submerged except for the upper floor. They tie up their boat, they go in there, and even though there's like an inch or so of water on the floor, the bed, they're able to sleep in the bed. It's just a really cool description. And then it goes back and tells how they got there. All right. So I'm probably gushing about this book a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great science fiction read. Is it going to be for everybody? Obviously not, because so many people have stated how they thought it was too boring, too slow. But for me, the ideas kept it going. They also complained how they never showed the aliens, and I didn't mind that because it kept the imagination going. It's like, what's down there and what are they doing, and how are we going to get down there to stop them? Because, the pressure, like we can't even get to those places on the Earth. So for me, this is a highly enjoyable book. I would thoroughly recommend it. But if there's anything that I said, if you're, a person that, gets bored easily with the type of fiction that I'm talking about, then obviously this one might not be for you. Wow. Okay. I thought I would be way under 30 minutes, but I spent a lot on this book. So there you go. There is my Friday night chat. Please let me know if you liked this in-depth description of the book. Would it have been better for me not to spoil it and keep it the way it was, like I normally do? So please let me know. All right. Again, I want to thank everybody out there for the support, and I will see you next Friday.